as we wind up what's been an exciting weekend. We are going to crank up the excitement to 11 now as our final action from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park and the Chevrolet Grand Prix weekend brings us to 22 Mazda MX-5s parked echelon style in the pit lane. We're just outside of Bowmanville, Ontario. It's a great place to come motor racing and a great circuit. Been here for a very long time, and it reflects the geography of the area. 2.5 miles near enough, just over 2.4 miles, and 10 corners. 10 corners that are a variety. You've got the really heavy commitment turn 1, turn 2 and turn 3. Heavy braking uphill into turn 5 and 6 Moss Corner. Then the long run down Mario Andretti Straight into an insanely fast entry into turn 6. Scrub off a bit of speed and balance it for the S's. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindhaugh, and alongside me in the booth is Shea Adam. You ready for this one, Shea? What a way to end up our weekend.
Oh, I'm so ready for this, John, especially considering the very real possibility of the R word coming down from the sky. There could be rain before the checkered flag falls, and we've got a lot of drivers who have never been in these cars in wet conditions. I talked to Woody Hyman, actually, at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. He said, you know, it's been a while since we've had a rain race. I'm not sure a lot of these kids even know what to do. I sure do, and I hope we get one. Well, Woody, today might just be your lucky day.
We'll keep an eye skyward. Before we introduce you to the 22 cars, we've had one race already this weekend. That was last thing on Saturday evening, and it was an absolute cracker. Of course it was. Aaron Johnson led the field down into the first corner. All kinds of shenanigans going on behind the Raw 2 coming through. Now, a little bit of naughtiness going on. Track limits for the number 5, the black car of Gresham Wagner. I'll come back to that later on. Connor Zilic went wide, and that allowed the number 13 purple car of Western Workman to take the lead, followed by Gresham Wagner. And we almost got a proper bump draft train down the Mario Andretti Straight as the number 96 Jared Thomas took the lead, pushed again by Western Workman. We then got the news that a 10-second time penalty was going to be assessed on Gresham in the number 5. He crossed the line first, but Western Workman, the rookie, in the number 13, takes his second win of the season for him and for BSI Racing. So that's what happened yesterday. Let's have a quick look at the grid as the lineup for this second race of the weekend. The rainy family outing is on row number 11. Joy in position 22 and Joe in position 21. They're both driving for McCumbee McAleer Racing. JTR Motorsports Engineering, Julian DaCosta and Christian Hodland from BSI are on the next row back. Next row forward, should I say, 19th and 20th. Then we have a whole slew of JTR Motorsports Engineering. In 18th, Cody Powell in the number 6. Nick Schaefer in the number 88 in 17th. In 16th, Peter Atwater in the 26. James Hayosh in the 81 in 15th. 14th, Woody Hyman in the number 82. They're all JTR. Then Spark Performance, Sally Mott and Jeremy Fletcher are on row 13 and 12th, with John Jordan joining Jeremy in 11th. Jeremy drew from the back of the grid yesterday into a top 6 position. Jean Jordan and Connor Zilic, Heather Hadley, Jonathan Neudorf, Alex Matura, Nate Cicero in 6th, Nate Nicholson in 5th, Gresham Wagner and Western Workman on row 2, and Aaron Johnson and Jared Thomas for JTR Motorsports Engineering locking out the front row. 45 minutes on the clock with potential weather threatening. On the right-hand side of the track is the pole sitter, Jared Thomas in the red and white car. He gets the jump pushed through by Western Workman in the purple number 13, and they will both get ahead of the front row starter, Aaron Johnson. Exactly what we saw in Saturday's race here, with the inside lane having the advantage. Oh, big slide from the leader, Jared Thomas, as he goes over the top of the rise at the start of turn 2. But he holds on to it. Workman in second. Gresham Wagner, stung, I'm sure, by his penalty yesterday, is settled into 5th position. He's lost a place from his starting grid. And as they head through to the bottom of the hill at turn 4, Shea Adam, we've had a nice clean start, but once again, the inside line did have the advantage.
Yes, it did. And I think that was a moment where Jared Thomas was probably giggling a little bit, going, oh, there was more grip there yesterday, because he was driving a lot more race cars yesterday. Had to wait until very late in the afternoon before coming into the racetrack for today's race. And this morning, when I actually went and walked down through the paddock at about 8 a.m., all the Mazdas still had their little covers over them because all the cars were still sleeping. None of the drivers had showed up to the track yet. But you mentioned Jeremy Fletcher's meteoric rise through the field yesterday. I talked with our driving standard steward, Tom Long, this morning, and he said what a testament to Mazda and to the McCumbee-McAleer team that they could roll out a brand new car that none of them had driven before in race conditions, put it on the racetrack, and it was that effective that Jeremy Fletcher was able to go from 22nd up to 7th.
Yeah, that is a very, very good point. And also testament as well to the Fliss brothers, who put these cars together for the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by Michelin, and how closely matched these cars are. The engines are street stock. They are taken from a car that shipped in from Japan to Florida, to outside Daytona, actually, is where Fliss Engineering is. The engine gets put to one side. It is sealed so that nobody can play with it. Mazda Sport have special seals at various parts of the engine so they can see if anything has been unfastened. And then that car is remarried to its original chassis after all of the something like 250 different pure racing parts are added onto the car. That includes things like a different gearbox. It's a SADF sequential box, different software for the gearbox that blips the engine and allows flat shifts up and down, so it cuts the engine on the up change, blips it on the way down. Racing wheels, FIA roll cage, fire suppression system, special seat, even a different dash and steering wheel as well, and significantly a very trick suspension system from Multimatic. And that is what's there, but it is a stock 180 horsepower, 2-litre 4-cylinder engine. Right, get back to the racing, where for the moment Jared Thomas has pulled out a little bit of the lead. There's 42 minutes still to go. Why am I not shouting at a high pitch? Because there's just been a change for a top 3 position. That's because if you're new to Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by Michelin, that's not going to be the only change of position for a major spot on the track, Shea, that we're going to see in the next 42 minutes.
If it is, then we need to say that we've already won the lottery, because the impossible has happened. These cars do not like holding their same positions. The drivers tend to get very impatient, and there tends to be a lot of jiggery-pokery in attempts to try and take over the lead, because they like to know how to make that last second pass. That's when it counts at the end of the race. Look at Connor Zillage, perfect example in the number 72 Silver Hair sponsored car. He's already trying to figure out, can I make a pass around the outside going through 5A and B? Well, the answer was no, and it's actually resulted in some damage to the BSI racing car. So Connor now with a bit of tire rub on the right-hand side of his car.
Good spot, Shea, and that Michelin is taking a heck of a lot of stick there from bodywork that has been touched. Just a little bit of rubbing, a little bit too much rubbing there. Now the worry is when that stops, because that means a groove has been worn in to that racing tyre. I think it is the left rear, and there's more side-by-side action with the number 56, excuse me, Nathan Nicholson, who was side-by-side for a moment there as well with, I think that was Gresham Wagner, wasn't it, who he was leaning on through the final corners. Now, did we get a pit caller that time around? No, we did not. Just for the sake of probity, by the way, neither the 17 or the 30 McCumbee-McAleer Racing, Joe and Joey Rainey, started this race today. So we started with 20 cars on our Mazda start grid. It was the barest of touches between Jonathan Neudorf and Connor Zilic in the BSI racing car that pushed that rear guard.
Well, and John, the reason I say, oh no, it's team on team. It's both BSI racing cars.
Yeah, blue on blue, absolutely right. And the yellow and red stripe flag, not supporting anyone from Catalan, or indeed Northumberland if you're from the UK. It's the flag of Northumberland. That means there's something on the track that shouldn't be there. Often called the liquid flag, but it could be a piece of debris as well. Rubbish on the track, basically. So I wonder if that's a little piece of bodywork that's come away from Connor Zilic's car. Still, Jared Thomas leading, and leading at this point is good. Yes, you want to save your performance to the end, but in getting to the last 5 or 6 laps, Shea, there is a bit of money, or potential money, certainly some points to be earned.
Yes, 10 bonus points for leading the most laps as Connor Zilic does come into the pit lane finally. This will drop him down to P20 as he will need a new right front Michelin. I think that's where the rub was coming from. And yep, that's where the BSI crew goes straight to work. So they'll get Zilic back out. If you're a fan of his, fear not. It's a long lap. It's just over 2 miles. But he's not out of this yet, particularly if we get a yellow. Yep, 10 bonus points for leading the most laps during the race. 10 points for the fastest lap of the race, which currently goes to Connor Zilic, and 10 points for the pole position, which went the way of Jared Thomas. Points add up because at the end of the season, the driver who's accrued the most points gets a check for $250,000, and it is a check for real cash money. There you go, ding ding. But that means that the driver can use it on whatever they want. If you're Jared Thomas, like the first year he won the championship, not this past year, but the year before that, he bought his crew Rolex watches as a thank you with his $250,000. There's no limits on what you can spend the money on. Mazda doesn't give the strings attached to the money.
That's a good point, actually. Now, changing the tyre is the easy bit, even though it's a 5-stud racing rim. However, hammering out the piece of, I'm not sure it was even bodywork, I think it was part of the subframe there that might have been pushed on the mounting for the front guard on that car, and that is what's going to cost him a lap, I think. Yeah, he's still in the pit lane, so Connor Zilic goes a lap down. Still has the fastest lap on a 1:32.848, still leading Jared Thomas from his JTR Motorsport engineering teammate Aaron Johnson. Now we've got to explain about the teams here. Michelin in third has Gresham Wagner in that black number 5 car. Then the Whelen car is another JTR car, then another Michelin racing, the number 22, Jeremy Fletcher, the mainly white car, who's making up a position as I speak about it. It's tuned into us here. Might well be. No, the strictly radio, which the entertainment is one of the things that doesn't go back in the car. Yes, these are teams, and yes, the teams will talk together, but ultimately, Shea, there's no team's championship per se. There is the honour of being the team that has the driver that wins the championship, and ultimately every driver is fighting for his or her own season-ending position.
Yes, and there's very much a battle going on within the battle for the championship because there's an $80,000 prize for Rookie of the Year as well. And every single race pays money as well. So $6,000 to every race winner, 5 for second, 4 for third, pays all the way down to 10th place. So you want to be in that top 10. We figure we had 20 starters, which means half of them are going to walk away with a check from today's race. It's very relevant what these drivers are fighting for, and there's a lot on the line, not just that final end-of-season prize.
Coming down to 35 minutes. We've barely had 10 minutes yet, and we're trying to keep the excitement levels here in the booth to a manageable level because this isn't even simmering yet. This is basically, you've just put the water in the pan and you haven't even turned the pan on yet. You've peeled the vegetables and they're ready to go in, but we haven't even started simmering. Never mind boiling up yet. Front of the field, JTR first and second, then 2 Michelin racing as Gresham Wagner now has his teammate Jeremy Fletcher in that number 22. Another good drive already by Jeremy Fletcher, up from 12th to 4th, but nothing like his Herculean effort from the back of the field yesterday. So we know that that white number 22 and its driver and the team, they've got a handle on that car, despite that not being the car that they started, with which they started the weekend. That's quite extraordinary, but again pays tribute to the equality of these cars when they come out of Mazda Sport and Fliss Performance.
For sure, Jeremy Fletcher was able to take over the championship lead yesterday in this Mazda. And when you consider the first time he drove it was in the race yesterday, it's even more impressive. He came into today's race with 2,330 points unofficially after yesterday's race, which is a 20-point advantage over the car he is currently behind on the racetrack, that being Aaron Johnson. If they were to finish in the order that they are now, well, they would be tied. So we would have to figure out where everyone else stacks up, because Jared Thomas comes in with 2,300 points after getting the pole position, and he would stand to actually retake the lead, having come into this weekend in 4th position. It's Gresham Wagner, the guy who's in 2nd, who's trying to claw back after that 10-second penalty from yesterday's race from not staying between the painted surfaces of the racetrack. He is on serious recovery mode because he came into the race weekend with a sizable championship lead. He left yesterday's race in 4th place.
We talk about these bonus points for fastest laps and pole positions. Oh, that was a bit of a dive bomb there by Jeremy Fletcher. Not as clean as we're used to from JF, but takes 3rd position for a moment from his from Aaron Johnson, his JTR competitor. So JTR, Macumbi, JTR, BSI, JTR, Macumbi, Spark, Macumbi. Make a song out of that.
What a great job by those trailing 3 on the end of the lead pack as Jeremy Fletcher's move on Aaron Johnson. Oh, it got a little bit feisty there, up into 5 and then through 5B with Fletcher with the optimum line. But that was a bit of a wild moment for Fletcher, actually going through the braking zone. I'm very impressed by Alex Bashura, Jean Jaudoin, and Woody Hyman, 3 guys who have been so close to breaking into that top 5 for a while now. They are for sure hanging with this battle for the lead, let alone the leading pack.
Had an incident earlier on, Jonathan Hindhaugh in the number 55 with Connor Zilic that caused that wee bit of damage. And there is a penalty, but it's only a warning for Jonathan for that. That's the BSI racing car. That was when they were rubbing coming out of turn 6. A couple of places around the circuit where they've got the yellow and red out. Just noticed it there as well at turn 3. I wonder if we're getting a few sprinkles coming down. Haven't seen anybody feel the need to put the wiper on yet, although in fairness that is the absolute last resort when you're a racing car, because no matter how clean you think your windscreen is and how clean you think the racetrack is, the moment that you put your windscreen wiper on, it just smears everything. The bugs, the bits of rubber, etc., etc. So you leave that till the very last moment. Aaron Johnson dropping back through the field, has dropped down to the bottom end of the top 10, and in fact he's going out of the top 10 at this point, Shea. Now this is big news.
It could be a tire-related issue. I'm hearing from the voices inside my head, John, that he was involved in the contact earlier on as Jared Thomas reclaimed the lead of the race. His full course caution is now out. And let's see if maybe Johnson did make it back to the pit lane. Let's hope it's just a tire for Aaron, because he was 2nd in the championship after yesterday's race.
Now, we've got a circuit vehicle, and that's because the number 5 of Gresham Wagner has gone off at turn 9, and that is, the car is on its side. Gresham is trying to extricate himself, and now is waiting, rightly so. Brilliant work from the AMR safety team, who were there very, very quickly. They're holding the car up so that it can't fall over while Gresham is pulling himself out from underneath the roll cage. It's facing the wrong direction and on the driver's side, but the safety features of the Mazda MX-5 Cup car have done their job, and Gresham is now out of the car, And now the safety workers have to work out how to get that car turned back on its wheels. So Gresham was fighting his way up. He'd had a little bit of side-by-side action. My thought is that
actually just taken the lead from Jared Thomas, John, coming down the back straight.
Yeah, might be right there. And car has speared off at one of the fastest parts of the circuit. This is coming out of turn 8, which is a little bit of a lift and settle the car down, and then break through into turn 9. But he has gone off on the entry to turn 9. That would suggest to me some side-by-side action on the exit of turn 8, the right-hander. And we've already got the wrecker truck in there to help get that car sorted out. Here comes the Kubota, which I've named Luigi this weekend because it's done such a brilliant job. This is the little forklift, the four-wheel forklift. Got to have that painted blue for next year, surely. If you're not a Cars fan, I apologise. Yeah, I think so. And it's been doing a cracking job with its operator to reset the stacks of tyres. We've already got track services there with their extra bales of tyres in case they're required. The wrecker truck is on the scene. It's been a double hit for Gresham because there's some derangement of the tyre wall and it's banding some 5 or 6 cars lengths from where the car has ended up. So it may be that that car got airborne actually, went in one way, dug in, and then flipped over to face the other direction. We know that these MX-5 Cup cars are built tough. We've seen some incredibly spectacular accidents. We hate to see them. We've had cars 10, 12 feet in the air and spinning upside down, and drivers getting out. That is the benefit of having the FIA, fully FIA approved roll cage built into that car by Fliss Performance. It's going to take a wee while this year, 27 minutes on the clock. And believe that it was Western Workman who was the other car involved in the incident that has put the number 5 car against the tyres at turn 8-9. This is very clever by the crane operator, moving the car gently away from the tyres, and then what they're going to do, I think, is lift it and get the safety team to roll it back over. Yeah, put it onto its roll cage. That won't do any damage. And then they can put the airbags underneath the car on the wall side, on the tyre wall side, and help roll that car over.
Our AMR safety crew really are the best in the world, and they train for these kinds of situations. They know the race cars, they know the drivers, so they can tell if the drivers have had their cages rattled, if they might need a little bit more than just the standard concussion test. They stop at nothing, though, to try and innovate, figure out better ways to try and help these race cars that have already been damaged not be damaged any worse.
Aaron Johnson, JTR Engineering, we saw him into the pit lane. He's dropped to the back of the field, actually in 18th position, still ahead of Connor Zilic, who hadn't caught up the field after his early pit stop for that tyre damage that's caused by side-by-side contact. The contact between Aaron Johnson and Jeremy Fletcher also being reviewed post-race. So we will always say at the end of the race that the results on the Mazda MX-5 Cup finishing grid are provisional. Particularly so with race control having to have a look at that. So a couple to be reviewed post-race. the Gresham Wagner, Weston Workman, and the Jeremy Fletcher, Aaron Johnson incidents. Weston Workman with 2 podia this year, both on the top step for the rookie.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to bother going to the podium, you might as well go all the way to the top, right?
Sure enough, yeah. What a chance to talk about prize fund whilst we have no racing. $1.2 million in total handed out across and at the end of the season for quite some time. We've had the end of season awards, which includes $250,000 to the championship winner and pays all the way down through the top 10. Relatively recent addition, Shea, is the prize fund at the end of each race, and both of the races at each weekend.
Yeah, it's a really good scheme, especially if you're in racing to try and, well, make money, but you start with a large fortune and you end with a small one. That's the old adage in racing, but Mazda Racing actually does pay you to be here. Winning the race gives you $6 grand. If you are the best placed woman in every race, you walk away with a $2,000 check each race. So there is actually good money to be made, as Aaron Johnson has come back into the pit lane behind the safety car once again. Safety crew still working in that area of the track, and now we do have a rollback, so hopefully Gresham's car close to being on its wheels and being able to resume this race, because the rain is approaching. Not quite in the vicinity yet. I can't see completely through the window in the other end of race control, but I don't think it's raining quite yet. Those slippery surface flags, though, John, they are something to keep an eye on and to indicate to us, because the corner marshals know way better than we do what the weather conditions are right underneath where they're standing.
Well, whatever they were doing on the right rear of that car, I don't think it involved putting another racing wheel and Michelin tyre on that car. No, it did not. So maybe it was something they weren't quite happy with. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a change of tyre pressure because they put a tyre on the front of that car. I don't know. I honestly don't know about that one. Halfway through the race, and great to see so many of a very knowledgeable crowd here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park who've been here for the Chevrolet Grand Prix, staying on for this race. And why wouldn't you? The main race finished just on an hour ago, and yet the backsides are still very, very busy. Great to see. But this has become one of the must-watch racing series, and has some fairly high-profile fans in the IMSA paddock and beyond, Shea.
It's kind of funny to find a driver who doesn't actively watch this series is now a bit of a rare thing. We get asked about it on every race weekend. Hey, who do you think is going to be strong here? And it's one of those fun things that people in the IndyCar world, people in the NASCAR world, Lodo Jr., people in the IMSA paddock, people in the WEC paddock, it doesn't matter. If you're a racing fan, you love the Mazda Cup, because this is where great racing always takes place. And normally, John, we've got a situation where it's 45 minutes of green flag, and we have no clue who's going to come away as the race winner. Well, right now we're under the full course caution. We've had Jared Thomas leading every lap, so he's going to get the 10 bonus points for most laps led, because now with 21 minutes to go, he has led 13. We should not have 13 more laps left in this race, considering we're going to be yellow for at least a few minutes longer. So Jared has racked up those extra bonus points, meaning our two-time and defending series champion just got himself on a tie into second place in championship points.
As it stands right now, before we award any points at the end of the race, good point. We've still got Connor Zilic with the fastest lap, so he would get the 10 bonus points for that. Should normally be able to beat his 1 minute 32.8, which he set early on. He's back out, so is Aaron Johnson. They are... Actually, Aaron is still on the lead lap. Only Connor Zilic is a lap down. Also taking the opportunity to clear up some of the debris that was on the Mario Andretti straight after that side-by-side rubbing. Just a reminder that neither Joe or Joey Rainey started the race, and we've lost Gresham Wagner. We are therefore left with a pack of 19 cars, 18 of which are still on the lead lap. Can't be too far away from going back to green now. Incredible how intact that MMR Mazda is. There's a door mirror that's missing. There's a bit of damage on the right rear quarter panel. The wheels are all pointing vaguely in the right direction, in the same direction as the one on the other side of the car. And we've got a matching pair. But the FIA roll cage has done its job. It's lovely to see the care as well, by the way, that the EMR safety team and our track services and recovery took to get that car onto the flatbed.
John, I've just gotten a text message that we really didn't want stage 1 weather advisory at this racetrack because the weather is now moving in. So we have 19 minutes just under to go, and the weather is rapidly approaching. Will we get the rest of this race before the rain comes, or will Woody Hyman get his wish? Will it start to get a little wet out there before the end of this one? It's going to be very close.
Well, and let's remind ourselves, Shea, all of these cars are on Michelin Slick Racing tyres. There is a very, very impressive Michelin wet weather tyre that we can swap to, but it is not a quick thing to do, and the pit lane and the teams in the pit lane aren't set up for quick pit lane changes. There's 5 studs on each of the racing wheels, and the teams all use electric drills actually, rather than single centre lock wheel rattle guns. Also notice it's a manual side jack as well. Now, that said, these cars are so stiffly sprung that you don't have to take them that far off the ground, certainly not as far as we saw for Aaron Johnson. A small person could have walked under that car. I'm not saying they would do, because it was only on the side jack, but you know what I mean. You don't have to get them that far off the ground. A couple of pumps on the side jack will get the whole side of the car off the ground to do the wheel changes, should it come to that. Let's hope it doesn't. We're down to 17.5 minutes. I think the lights are off on the Whelen safety car. Down as it heads down the Mario Andretti straight. It's going to be about 16.5 minutes to go. Yeah, my eyes did not deceive me. Jared Thomas then takes charge of the field. Right, everybody. Now this is going to get interesting. I'm looking for words. Oh yeah, frenetic, fast, furious, exciting. 16 minutes and 45 seconds as we go back to green flag racing for the second race of 2 for the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by Michelin at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Shea Adam, John Hindhaugh, and 19 cars, 18 of which are on the lead lap, to battle it out for just over a quarter of an hour. Jared Thomas on the restart got just enough of a gap that he didn't have to defend into turn 1 or 2 from Weston Workman. That's not the case further back, and Workman now heads to the high side as they go through turn number 3. Tries the cut back but won't do it. You ride the rim on the edge of turn number 3 and the exit of Quebec corner. Now down the hill, bottom out at turn 4. Use the hill to help you break into turn 5 through Moss corner, turn 6 and 7. Onto the long straight, and these cars make a big hole in the air. I've noticed that all the debris flags have been taken in by our hard-working corner workers and marshals. So took the opportunity of that extended period of safety car to clean up the track as well. Nice work by everybody concerned. Here comes Workman. It's a brave, brave driver that goes around the outside of turn 8. It can be done, particularly with these cars. Jeremy Fletcher in the right, white number 22, sees an opportunity maybe to drive down the inside at the final corner, but can't make that one work. Back off and racing again. Shea, 15 minutes to go.
I've just received a message from race control that there is a 10-second penalty pending for Jeremy Fletcher. I've asked the question what it is for, so hopefully we'll get an answer on that, but that would completely change the face of today's race as well, because Jeremy Fletcher sits in third. It's instant responsibility with Aaron John Somm, I'm now hearing.
Yeah, that was the dive down the inside and contact ensued, which ultimately pushed Aaron John Somm down the field. He's recovering to 16th position at the moment in a quartet of JTR Motorsport engineering cars that's led by Nick Schaefer, Cody Powell, then Aaron, then James Hindhaugh in positions 14 on down. White number 39 getting involved. With elbows out, Jean Chantois from Macumbi McAleer Racing. Alex Pachura's side, he was having a little go side by side, and now Julian DaCosta from JTR in the dark coloured number 78. He's having a look at the front of the field. Weston Workman again tries the bump draft, just taps the brakes, comes out from underneath the rear of the leader, then drops back in again. Confirmation of Jeremy Fletcher's 10-second time penalty. That would push him to the back of the field as it stands now. And that, Shea Adam, has championship implications written all over it. What a weekend it's been for the championship contenders.
What a weekend it's been for whoever's leading the championship in the race. It's certainly not the desirable place to be when you come into CTMP, apparently, for this series. But with Gresham Wagner taking a maximum of 110 points for his 20th place finish, it means that, well, the field will space out. We know that. Connor Zilic is still a lap down. So even if we were to move Jeremy Fletcher down to 18th place, he's still going to get 20 points more than Gresham Wagner did. So he still will have a lead over Wagner, but he's going to lose out positions to the guy leading this race and the guy with whom he was assessed the contact with penalty. So Aaron John Somm should stay ahead of him in the championship too.
I'll let you do that arithmetic when we get to the end, because
Thanks.
There's many an arithmetic change between 12.5 minutes to go and the checkered flag in Whelen MX-5 Cup presented by Michelin. The two leaders, now are they working together? They're not teammates. JTR and BSI. Then Macumbi, JTR and BSI the next again. Workman pulls out, maybe just getting a little bit of air into the radiators of that 180 horsepower four-cylinder engine. That's not the silliest thing to do, and if that is the case, that's really heads-up driving by the rookie. Has done some racing in the past. It's not his first year of racing, Weston Workman. Came up through Spec Miata, and in fact you were at the shootout when he got the scholarship to come through into this championship.
One of the best parts of that shootout weekend was talking with Wesley, his dad, Weston's dad, who was so pumped up about what his son's future could look like. And he was talking to me about different IMSA championships that he and Weston have dreamed of racing in, of possible future endeavors for this young man. They're already thinking bigger picture and the future. In 2023, he was second in the Spec MX-5 series. He was second in the national championship. And two of his best friends are actually guys that we know very well from this series, John. One of them is on track right now, Nate Cicero. He was actually the shootout winner for the Spec MX-5 in 2021 as well. So Weston Workman moving up the Mazda chain and proving very much once again this weekend, as he did at Sebring, he is worth their investment of that $110,000 scholarship for the grassroots.
And we've seen, haven't we, from those drivers who have chosen to move on into other IMSA championships, you can't fault the racecraft of anyone who comes out of Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup. As you might imagine, when you've got this close of racing for 45 minutes at a time, that's a stint in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship or the Michelin Pilot Challenge, for example. And the situational awareness that you have to have as Weston Workman thinks about a dive down the inside at the final corner. He backed out of that because he didn't think that that gap was going to stay there. That's cost him momentum coming out of the final corner. It's cost him second place, and Jonathan Hindhaugh falls down as well to 7th across the line, as he did exactly the same thing a couple of 3 cars further back. And this is what I'm talking about, this situational awareness, I'm fighting the car in front, I'm defending the car behind. And it is such a momentum series as Workman thinks about the inside going up the hill of turn 3. And behind him, Jonathan Hindhaugh pulls off a pass on Alex Batura and goes back to 6th position after losing a couple of places. Inside the last 10 minutes, Shea, this is starting to get a bit spicy.
It is, and all of a sudden, Nate Cicero is up into the 5th position with Jeremy Fletcher just ahead of him. Now, with Fletcher's impending penalty, we do have to keep that in the back of the mind, but Nate Cicero could use his teammate to try and carve through the field. 2 cars are always stronger than 1. We've got 2 JTR Motorsport Engineering entries at the front, then the sole BSI for Weston Workman, 2 McCumbee McAleer racing cars, Spark Performance representing very strong once again from Alex Bashura, the man from Houston, Texas, then Jonathan Neudorf, the only Canadian driver in the field for BSI Racing back in 7th, JTR Motorsports Engineering in 8th and 10th for Woody Hyman and Julian DaCosta respectively. And for Julian, this is a big weekend because he's got a brand new livery on his car representing the Austin Hatcher Foundation. Yesterday's race did not go according to the plan, and they needed to actually DNF the car. They couldn't finish the race today. They're looking for redemption, and Julian, who has been a very impressive and quiet young man, doing his talking on the track, P9 after that lap.
Austin Hatcher Foundation with a long association with IMSA, going back to the American Le Mans Series days. Been part of it pretty much all of the 25 years that I've been involved in American sports car racing. Fabulous charity helping out the families of children who have been diagnosed with pediatric cancer, and all of their services are given to the families free of charge, so they exist with fundraising and private donation. Look them up. It's the Austin Hatcher Foundation, named after an extremely brave young man whose family set up the foundation in his honour and have done great work for many a long year now. At the front of the field with 7.5 minutes to go, the 2 JTR teammates, Jared Thomas, Nathan Nicholson, unable to break away. Jared, very experienced, Nathan Nicholson in his first season of this championship. Then it's Weston Workman. Jeremy Fletcher getting pushed down 3 positions there. He's back down to 7th with the 10-second penalty. He's also had a warning for track limits as well. And he's right out over the turn 1 curbs as well, as he was side by side with Jeremy Fletcher. Just can't keep doing that. They'll be keeping a weather eye on that from race control. Weston Workman tries to go down the inside, the right-hand side of Nathan Nicholson. So now, from having a couple of cars, maybe 3 cars, it's back to a 5-car scrap at the front of the field. Then maybe half a second's gap to Nate Cicero, I think it is, in. No, he's on the back of the lead train.
Yeah.
So who's that leading? Well, in fact, there's 6 cars now. Forget what I've just said. The whole of the top 10's back together again. Welcome to Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup. How to make a play-by-play presenter look foolish in the blink of an eye, because
that's because it all changed from when you started your sentence to when you finished it. This group is just going at it, and it is so much fun to watch. I'm impressed by Jonathan Neudorf right now. I mentioned he's the only Canadian in the field, but he's from the other side of the country. He's never been to Ontario prior to this weekend, never been to CTMP. Wow. So getting his feet wet at this track and figuring it out, but you tend to do that when it's your country pride on the line. And right now, running in a very respectful P4 for BSI Racing with his teammate right in front of him. We could be seeing a first podium for Jonathan Neudorf. That would be pretty cool on the home ground. Come on, Canada, let's cheer him on.
5.5 minutes, what's that going to be? Ran about 3 or 4 laps, depends when the leaders come to the line. Workman, once again, walks out of the line of cars. Also looking racy at the moment, Nate Cicero in the dark blue, number 83. But at the moment, Jared Thomas has led all bar a couple of laps, I think, now. Certainly across the line. Keep an eye open for that blue and black Jonathan Hindhaugh car in 4th position. Then Jeremy Fletcher, I think, in 5th. Yes, it is. Nate Cicero in 6th. Jean Jodoin, Julian DaCosta, Alex Ventura, Woody Hyman. They're the top 10, and they're all in with a shout. Here comes Workman. He's pulled out of the slipstream earlier now. Used the draft of the 2 cars. Tries to go again on the outside. He's getting some help as he goes through. There's a touch, and that's going to be huge. And the lead has gone as well. How did they all avoid each other? That's Jeremy Fletcher that's gone through to the lead from, I think, 5th or 6th position. No clue how they all stayed on track there. The slightest of touches from Workman as he was trying to go through, pitched the car sideways. Now let's hope nobody's got damage with under 4 minutes to go. Fletcher led across the line. It hasn't broken the pack up enough for Fletcher to benefit with his 10-second penalty. He will still drop down to 16th position. Working around the outside, hits the back of the number 56 of Nathan Nicholson, who then cannons into the leader and puts him sideways. Nicholson's dropped down to a good 5th or 6th position. And where did the 96 drop down to? Jared Thomas on the grass and sideways has gone down to 13th position. Neudorf's dropped back to 11th. My goodness, how did we not have a huge conflagration there, Shea, Adam?
I have no idea how they made through that, because that was another one of those moments of chaos and another instance where championship leaders saw their championship season flash before their eyes. Nathan Nicholson coming into today's race 2nd in the Rookie of the Year championship because Weston Workman getting that championship, or the victory yesterday, that vaulted him up ahead. But we had both of those cars involved. We had Jared Thomas involved, who came into today's race in 3rd in the championship battle. We've already established problems for Gresham Wagner, the problems for Jeremy Fletcher, the incident that happened earlier on for Aaron Jean-Samble. Aaron's back up to 8th, but Jared Thomas with that, and now Heather Hadley has had a big one at the same spot where Gresham Wagner went off.
And that is going to end the race, I reckon. I don't think we can leave Heather exposed there. The front left-hand wheel has been torn off. Number 54. She was just knocking on the top 10 as well in that BSI racing car. Now this doesn't help Jeremy Fletcher. That means he's going to be dead last of the cars on the lead lap with his 10-second penalty. The incident involving Nathan Nicholson, Jared Thomas and Weston Workman under review. Weston Workman already under another review as well. Oh my goodness me. Heather, he's talking to the AMR safety team who are looking at the car. Did she get a little bit of help there? Oh my goodness, the wheel was off already. The wheel was off before she tried to turn in to the end of the right hand, at the end of the right-hander at turn 8. That wheel is gone and is actually at a different part of the circuit, held in the boundaries of the circuit by the safety fences there. So when people say, oh, why do you bother putting safety fences up? I can't take nice pictures from the bankside. There is the perfect illustration of why we have to do that. By no means the quickest car, the quickest cars on the bill this weekend, but the force and the speed with which that wheel and tyre departed the number 54, enough to do an awful lot of damage. That'll be 15 or 20 kilos of wheel and tyre, and it bounced back inside the bounds of the circuit. I'm delighted to see the safety features doing their work. Heather out of the car and talking to the AMR safety team in very similar livery, her overalls. I wasn't sure if that was her to start with, but it is. The errant wheel and tyre has been retrieved. And we are coming down to a checkered flag. I think we will have, it depends how slowly Jeremy Fletcher comes round, actually, we might just have one more lap under yellow. Yeah, the white flag is out now. And this is terrible, terrible news for Jeremy Fletcher, because of course he still has to have a 10-second penalty. That would have dropped him down to about 13th, but now I think it's going to drop him all the way to the back of the field once everybody closes up. At the moment it would drop him down to 15th position, I reckon. Connor Zilic, though, will move up a position because Heather Hadley will not do another lap.
Well, and John, I'm just doing some rudimentary math on all this now, so please forgive my brain for not working perfectly. But with Jeremy Fletcher's penalty, this would give the win to Nate Cicero, second
Correct.
and a first ever podium to Julian DaCosta, and third and a first ever podium to the driver who has more starts in this series than anyone else. I think he's up to 116, if memory serves. Alex Bashura stands to get a podium finish for Spark Performance.
Talking to you earlier on in the week at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, he said he would be happy to get in a top 10. We know he's got speed, he's certainly got overtaking ability. So he'll be delighted to stand on the podium. That also means Julian DaCosta will get top points in the rookie battle as well in that Austin Hatcher Foundation car. Julian doing his bit for the foundation and that charity to give them some visibility. Weston Workman will be second and Nathan Nicholson third in the rookie standings at the end of this race. I'm going to keep talking for a moment as Shea does some more arithmetic. So much as yesterday in race 1 at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by Mazda will see the driver who crosses the line and takes the checkered flag not stand on the top step of the podium. A 10-second penalty for Jeremy Fletcher for contact will demote him down the field, and it will be Nate Cicero who takes the victory for Macumbi Magalia Racing ahead of JTR Motorsports' Julian DaCosta, who's the best of the rookies, and Spark Performance Alex Bachura in third. Weston Workman and Nathan Nicholson, two more rookies in fourth and fifth. Aaron Johnson back up to sixth position after his problems in the race, ahead of Woody Hyman in seventh for JTR. Spark Performance, Sally Mott inside the top 10, and will take the $2,000 for the best female driver to finish. And I think that might be close to Sally's best finish actually, in 8th. Jean Jadouin in 9th. Jared Thomas in 10th. Unofficial results at this stage, with some consideration to be made by race control over some of the incidents in that particular race. Just outside the top 10, Jonathan Neudorf in 11th. Peter Atwater in 12th. Nick Schaefer and James Hayosh and Cody Powell, all JTR Motorsports cars, down from 12th to 15th. Haven't mentioned Jeremy Fletcher yet. That's because Christian Hundland is in 16th, and it is 17th position on the timing and scoring for the driver who crossed the line first. The only driver behind him who's still running, Connor Zilic, who lost that lap earlier on when they had to come in to change the tyre. 4 cars across the Mario Andretti straight. There's going to be some very, very happy drivers on the podium.
Nate Cicero, who not only gets the top step of the podium, gets the championship lead as well, unofficially, 2,570 points. He is 10 points ahead of Aaron John Somm in second after today's race. Third is Jared Thomas, 2,510. And then fourth will be Jeremy Fletcher, 2,470. But into the championship conversation after 2 good races, one great one, is Weston Workman, 2,420.
Wow, what a weekend we have had. It has really thrown the whole series up in the air. we will reconvene at VIR, Virginia International Raceway, on the weekend of August the 24th and 25th. But as ever, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park have given us plenty to talk about this weekend. And we've got a new winner on the top step of the podium. Congratulations to Nate Cicero, who takes the win for Michelin Racing, and he will be our championship leader when we back on the track at VIR. For Shea Adam, I'm John Hindhaugh. Bye-bye.